what we have to do if there's a people come into tumbling, this is a conservation area and they they destroy it. What we should do, I said, we have to wait for the government to, to do something to regulate that what they have, but what they allow to do or not. And then that's it. But they keep coming and they, destroy several areas. And I said, just smack their face and forget everything. Okay. So because just waiting for the regulation, probably it is way too late. Yeah. But hopefully that the government will give a regulation, for tumbling area. Thank you again, Maria. And if I follow Maria's presentation, there are 3 pillars that Maria talking about. First, of course, the conservation itself. Second, environmental safety and community development. We will see for the next panelist from Ellen, who earned her MSc from Regional and Urban Planning Studies, London School of Economics and Political Science, and BSc from Project Management for Construction, University College London. What is her experience in the palm oil industry and the activity that she would like to share with you?
Very honored for this opportunity to talk here about a case about sustainable oil palm plantation. I know it's the last session of the evening, but I hope I can sustain a little bit more of your attention here. I mean, Maria told an incredible story about the tigers, and I can promise you there's a story about monkey here. Because it's set in the West Kalimantan. It's actually where I come from as well. It's a beautiful place. Okay, next. So first I'm going to talk about, the history about palm oil, how it got to Indonesia. It was actually originated from West Africa, and then over time in the early 1900s it was brought by the Dutch to our place, Indonesia. And over time it became commercialized, and as demand increases, it became the wide-scale commercial plantation as it is today. Our location is in West Kalimantan. It's right at the equator, around the equator line. And this just shows the picture of the before and after of our plantation. So, as you might have heard a lot about the oil palm industry in Kalimantan, it's disruptive, but what I need to highlight here is that when we first entered the place, the forest already destroyed. There's activity of ex-logging area over there. There's the burning of the forest for the nomadic farming. So what we're trying to do there is actually to salvage what remained. So as you can see, we call it an initiatives. We were actually managing 4,000 hectares of area there. And for palm oil plantation, it's considered quite small actually. From there, we invited consultants to identify which area can still be conserved and have a conservation value. So our conservation of 10,000 hectares is not a number we pluck out of a blue. And it was an actual study, a survey of what area can still be conserved before we carry on with our plantation. And as you can see here, what we see as the most important to be conserved is the river, because it's a source of life. And so during the ex-logging area period in time, they were actually being completely opened up, and there's a lot of that pollution being brought into the river. Next. So here's our vision, mission, business models. Our vision is to become an environmental friendly company, and to achieve our growth, we believe that we have to involve the community. And you can see our business model here. It's 3 P's. It's been people, planet, and profit. And what we believe here is that we need to look after the people, and we need to conserve the environment. The profit comes after that. And we can see the cycle here that I'm going to tell you more, is that by looking after the people and the community, they are the ones that have the most kind of hope in the long-term scale of environment protection and conservation. Next. So I'm just introduce some of the community development efforts that we already done. So far, our plantation there of managed to sustain livelihood of at least 30,000 people, and this just shows the numbers and the economic benefit that the palm oil plantation can bring to a remote community in Kalimantan. And we also believe in the community empowerment that's not only providing direct jobs. So we allocated 20% of our area actually through cooperative program with community. The purpose of this is not only provide them with land, but also to encourage their independence and as well as self-reliance and basically managing the area that they have. So we believe that we're looking at the long-term solution of this, what happened after us. So we hope that this community will manage this area, will pass it on for their children, and they be able to manage those as well. We also introduced environmental friendly farming methods. This is an initiative we introduced to address the nomadic farming that's happening and still happening today. It's a very destructive method because it's burn the forest and then move on to the next land and burning it. And this is also some of the cause of the forest fire crisis that we face today. By introducing this more friendly and sustainable farming method, we hope that this can be passed on in the long term and the nomadic farming method can be left. We also build environmental awareness as well as the education program as well. And next. This is just our forest fire management. As we heard recently, there's been so many crises, but we can claim that in our area, the fire crisis never really reached to a peak or any crisis. The reason of it is because we put on a lot of attention in prevention. We did lots of simulation of a crisis. We prepared lots of training and the facilities to equip the crisis. Our efforts also started before we actually enter and start the plantation. We built the forest, the fire lookout tower before the plantation started. The purpose of it is to basically manage the contractors and prevent like a land clearing method that is destructive. So this is among the solutions that we have really early on before we even started the plantation. And this shows the area where we are working. So we're managing 40,000 hectares, and you see the purple area there is the conservation area. We allocate 10,000 hectares for the conservation. That is based on the study and the survey, so which area can we still salvage for the conservation. We created lots of corridor for the animals because this area connected to the other forests. So we want to make sure that animals who got to this area can still move around and they're not disturbed by the presence of a plantation. And based on we also partner with some of the world NGOs such as USAID, in fact, Fauna and Flora International and WRI. They've helped us calculate the emission reduction of over 5.18 million emission reduction over 30 years, only from the 10,000 hectares on conservation. So the potential that we can bring from this is really big. But of course, the conservation comes at a cost that our oil palm plantation managed to meet. Just to show what our plantation look like today, there's the buffer zone, there's the conservation area, and it's coexist side by side with the oil palm plantation. As I said earlier, we put lots of effort in conserving the river, and you can see this buffer zone acts as a prevention for the pollution to get there, and it's helped to sustain the life that is beyond the area of this plantation as well. And as I promised before, I'm going to show you some pictures of animals, of course. This is the biodiversities we found. We actually managed to find snakes, reptiles, birds. We also find lots of, there's primates as well, mammals, trees. These are some of NGOs. Actually, the stories are, when we tell the story about our old plantation, we have conservation area, there's all these amazing biodiversities exist inside this area. People's reaction will be, no, it's impossible. So we challenge them, okay, why don't you come around and take a look yourself? So these people are taking the challenge, they came, spent a few days, and then some of them actually spent weeks. And the celebrity of the conservation areas, the proboscis monkey, which is endemic in the West Kalimantan. So this just shows that they actually come back being quite unbelief with what they saw and the biodiversity that managed to be conserved from this area. And this just shows like the international events that we participate. So we also participate in the 2 past COP, where we also showcase what we've done. And just certification that prove that our compliances with the highest standards of sustainability in all palm oil product. So I just want to tell a story, just to wrap up what I've been telling here. As you can see, this is what the oil plantation look like next to a conservation area. It's over time you can't even tell the difference anymore. It is still oil plantation, but like if we manage it well, if we conserve it well, there is a lot of potential that can bring to the community. Another thing I really want to highlight here is the benefit for the communities here. If you hear the story from Maria and Tumbling, we faced a lot of challenges in the forest conservation. Those problems still exist in Kalimantan. It's not something that stopped, but we managed to minimize it a lot because those livelihood of the people there are sustained by the jobs and by all the awareness and education that we provided for them. And I see like there's so much potential that we can bring out of those communities because like at the end of the day, those are the conservation can only be succeeded if the community really take the responsibility as well in looking after it. And we can only call that conservation success if we manage to educate those communities and they look after not only the conservation of this 10,000 hectares because it's a small area. Like we hope that what we tell them, what we encourage them in terms of an environment, they will look after the wider area outside this conservation area. Or even when they move outside Kalimantan, they'll still have the same philosophy of environment is very important.